So there was a big ruling that came down from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, allowed Donald Trump to continue to deploy troops into Portland. But there is something that everybody seemed to have missed. It's one of the messages that was sent by the sole judge who dissented in this opinion. Now, it was a 3-judge panel, 2 Trump judges, 1 Clinton-appointed judge. The Clinton-appointed judge was the one that dissented. Her name is Judge Susan Grayber. She's widely known as a moderate. She's been on the bench, obviously, since Clinton. She ended this ruling in a pretty fiery way. She called for the en banc panel, the entire bench of the Ninth Circuit, to immediately block this ruling, finding that the legitimacy of the judiciary itself is at stake. The final 2 lines of this decision is powerful. It's powerful language that you don't see in judicial rulings. She says, quote, "I urge my colleagues on this court to act swiftly to vacate the majority's order before the illegal deployment of troops under false pretenses can occur. Above all," she adds, "I ask those who are watching this case unfold to retain faith in our judicial system for just a little longer." Just a little longer. And she knows patience is running out. Time is running out. For people who see all over, we all see what's happening. We see judges bending over backwards to bend to Trump's interpretation of the law. I mean, this is one of the only courts that has seemed to take up a position that they agree that the president's determinations on where he gets to send federalized National Guard are unreadable, are not subject to judicial review. We'll see how the Supreme Court looks at that. That is an argument before the Supreme Court now. I don't count on them for anything, by the way. She was appealing to her colleagues on the full bench of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. She recognizes that she's in the minority, she's the lone dissenter, but she's saying that her colleagues on the 3-judge panel, her 2 colleagues, her 2 Trump-appointed colleagues, she said that her decision is erroneous. She's calling for the 29 judges on the appeals court, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, all of them, to sit and hear this case and strike it down. She's calling for them to rule so swiftly that the illegal deployment of troops, as she puts it, is blocked. I mean, right now the Trump administration has a green light, so, I mean, they can send troops into Portland. So she's begging the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to move quickly enough that this doesn't happen. It's pretty unorthodox for this to happen, that any judge on any circuit court, basically, that their own panel handed down a decision that was so misguided, so baseless, that they're calling for the full panel to take up this issue and ask that the decision be vacated. I mean, calling for en banc review isn't itself, that's not unusual, but what's unusual is the emergency language, the tenor of this opinion from a judge who's known as a moderate. She sees the urgency here. She also said that her 2 colleagues, the Trump appointees on the panel, found that Trump could effectively enforce the laws of the United States using regular forces. She mocks that decision. Here's what she says. It's nice to highlight things whenever possible because the language just cuts to the core. She said, quote, "Given Portland protesters' well-known penchant for wearing chicken suits, inflatable frogs, or nothing at all when expressing their disagreement with the methods employed by ICE, observers may be tempted to view the majority's ruling, which accepts the government's characterization of Portland as a war zone, as merely absurd. But today's decision is not merely absurd. It erodes core constitutional principles, and including sovereign states have control over their own militias and the people's First Amendment rights to assemble and to object to the government's policies and actions. I strenuously dissent," end quote. A couple things about that. The 2 other judges were apparently so cut by those remarks that they had to add in a footnote of their ruling that, of course, we do not agree that Portland is a war zone. They went out of their way to say that. They disagree with Donald Trump that Portland is a war zone. They just want to grant him the kind of deference that would allow him to send in the warriors. But also to kind of lay out facts of what preceded Trump federalizing the National Guard. She highlighted the police reports in Portland, the 5 days leading to the deployment, and each of those 5 days, the police were reporting nothing much was going on there. There were about a dozen protesters in front of the building. The day before Trump authorized federalizing the National Guard, they wrote the energy was low. low energy, there were no disturbances. Forget about that, forget about one that couldn't be contained with regular forces. So what's unusual here is a judge saying that her colleagues have gone so far astray that there is a crisis of confidence in the judiciary itself. And of course, her colleagues' ruling falls right when this matter in the deployment of the National Guards is in front of the Supreme Court. So I just wanted to point that out. I thought it was important. Good morning, by the way. Not that it is, it's just a statement of fact, not opinion. And I wish you all the best today. You'll be seeing me later. Thank you for watching my videos.